The trial of the inmate that was pregnant in Miami-Dade County Prison continues today for day 2, and we have a bit more clarity of what happened on the 25th of June 2022, where her husband Pedro Jimenez had sadly lost his life after a domestic dispute. Both the prosecution and the defense stated in their opening statements that Daisy was the one to pull the trigger and had shot him. However, we heard testimonies from day 1 from the police officers that were interviewing Daisy. One of the officers said that she said to him,
she advised they were together for about 10 years and that they've had their ups and downs. However, she didn't know who would possibly do this to him.
This sent my head into a tailspin, and I was wondering why on earth would that statement be made and why was the opening statements like this. We did a full recap on day 1 going into this in more detail. You can find the link in the description or in the cards should you wish to see the full breakdown of this. Hi, I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man. Welcome to Ketchup Court, where we are on a mission to make trials digestible for you. If you're unable to watch all 7 hours of a trial or attend court to see the proceedings for yourself, hit that subscribe button because we have you covered right here. So why did day 2 offer a lot of clarity? Why did I say that earlier? Well, in my opinion, it has raised the stakes for what the defense is going to present in this trial, and I'm gonna do my best in this video to break this down fully. We heard key testimonies from analysts and crime scene specialists, which gave a bit more of an idea of what happened at the scene and a bit more context to some of the testimonies that we heard yesterday. But a very key question kind of popped into my head as I was going through these proceedings live, and really it was, did the investigators or the police, did they manipulate or alter exculpatory evidence? Therefore, with this in mind, it is important to go through the key witnesses that provided testimony that could better answer this question and provide a bit more context, as well as give us a bit of a vivid image of what happened that night, a bit more context into where this crime had occurred. Why was there blood trails leading to the alleyway? All of those questions I'm going to aim to answer on this particular video. To better understand what exactly happened that night and the integrity of the investigation, these are the key witnesses that I'm going to be focusing on. I'm not going to list all the witnesses. You can find the full report of this day proceeding as usual on the Ketchup Court website. The link is in the description below, but I'm only going to focus on the 5 of the, well, technically 7 witnesses testified today, 7 new witnesses, but it was 8 in total. But like I said, I'm going to focus on the 5 key witnesses that really shows what is really happening with this particular case. So the witnesses I'm going to be focusing on is Ignaras Sepeda. This is the crime scene technician. I'm also going to be focusing on Sergeant Fernandez, who was the data expert that was analyzing the footage that was missing from the DVR. I'm also going to be going through Robert Sisneros, who was recalled to the stand to give testimony about what he saw on the footage and whether it was manipulated at all. And Danny Morales, who was the police officer that also saw the footage and also spoke with the extended family of Daisy. So without further, let's begin with the crime scene technician, because her testimony was really key. She gave a lot of clarity to Suya's testimony from day 1, where if you cast our mind back to that particular testimony,
there was a large tree just west of that entrance to 1255, and that tree had blood on the exposed roots. So once I see that, that's my starting point for where I see blood. Then following the trail, there was vehicles there. I followed the blood trail through those vehicles. There was 3 vehicles parked from east to west. There was a white pickup, there was a gray SUV, and then there's a green pickup. In between the gray SUV and the green pickup, there was blood. Specifically, I saw a lot of blood on that passenger door of the green pickup and on like the step up, on a step that's on the outside of that pickup truck. I follow that blood trail towards an alleyway that's on the north side. There's a vehicle right before you enter the alleyway. That vehicle also had blood. I followed the trail then now into the alleyway, and just west of the trail, I observed the victim's body covered with a yellow tarp. After pickup, where I saw a lot of the blood, then the trail goes on this grassy area along the west side, following this other vehicle where I told you I saw blood, and then this is the entrance to the alleyway. So, following this, all the way to under these trees here, that's where the body was.
Well, we got a lot more clarity today from the testimony of Ignaras Sepeda, who was the crime scene technician. She basically provided a demonstration for the jury of the blood trails, and she gave testimony about how the blood trail started.
And where is it that you observed these blood trails?
The blood trail appeared to have started from directly in front of the residence, leading towards the front of the residence, the walkway, a walk path, leading towards the sidewalk, the residence next to it, eventually through an alleyway, and then it ended where the victim collapsed.
Detective, can you mark for the jury, where is it that you saw these blood trails in the entire scene?
So it's
Sorry.
Thanks. So there were various areas where blood was observed from here, leading here, here.
So it started here and it went all the way here, and then the cars and the alleyways here.
That's correct.
This testimony was really interesting because it kind of gives us a full picture and a mind map really of where the shot may have originated from, leading up to where Pedro Jimenez died that night, which was the alleyway where he was found by the first respondent, Sergeant Nicholson. But that's not where the story ends, because a lot of doubt was starting to creep in when the next witness was introduced. This was Sergeant Fernandez. She went on to give testimony about the data extraction, the data analysis that she was basically doing to see whether the DVR had been altered or manipulated. The reason why she had to do this was because we heard testimony from Robert Sisneros yesterday, where he was about to get into the substance of what was on the footage, and then it was objected to. So therefore, they had to bring her in to give a bit more context in regards to whether this particular footage was altered. So she gave testimony and she believed that it wasn't altered in any way, giving her reasons for this particular belief.
Were you able to download it on scene?
No.
Why not?
For whatever reason, when I went, the dates were available and the system actually went back to April. However, when I went to go back to the times to actually export the times, for whatever reason, the times were not available.
Okay, but the date was?
Date was.
Was there any evidence of any kind of tampering anyway with that system when you were viewing it?
No, because for me to say that there was tampering, I would have to say that the entire hard drive was completely wiped out or formatted.
Can you explain that to the members of the jury? What
So,
do you mean by that?
with DVR systems, you can't go back and delete just one incident or one day or 1 hour, 2 hours. When you format a hard drive within the DVR, it completely wipes out the entire hard drive, meaning everything will just disappear.
Okay.
And in that case, the date was available, everything went back to April, which means that nothing happened. There was no way it was formatted.
Okay.
At the office, I plug it into DVR Examiner, and at that point I attempted to conduct DVR Examiner on it, and for whatever reason, the actual hard drive was not scanning. It wasn't even allowing me to get to the point where I could export or even request to export.
Can you explain a little bit more what that means?
So I would plug it in to DVR Examiner. I would scan the DVR to actually pick up the hard drive, but it wasn't picking up the hard drive at all.
Was there any evidence of any kind of tampering when you were doing that?
No.
Why not?
Because I couldn't even get to the hard drive.
So the fact that you couldn't get to the hard drive was evidence itself that there was no tampering?
To me, evidence enough that the actual hard drive was damaged or somehow corrupt, because I was never even able to enter into it. I was never even able to get into it enough to do anything.
Okay.
However, the defense raised a lot of questions during cross-examination where they were heavily leaning on the possibility of manipulation or alteration by either Robert Sisneros or the investigators in the case.
You tried to download it for that purpose, and you weren't able to because, as far as you can tell, the DVR didn't have any data on it, correct?
It had data. It just wasn't exporting the dates and times that they were asking for.
All right. So you couldn't export it. However, you know that the detectives were able to watch some of the video before it was taken from the owner's home, correct?
Normally, when they ask us to come out, it's because they've already reviewed video.
Okay. We know that this DVR has footage which the detectives had supposedly had already seen, and that's the reason why they're sending you to retrieve it, right?
Yes.
You're not able to retrieve it.
No.
So wouldn't it be effective to plug in that DVR, which you're not able to get anything from, plug it into a monitor to see if you could still play the videos, just like the detectives had done back at the person's home?
It would have been the same thing. I'm just taking it from one monitor to another. What I was able to see on scene is the same thing that I was going to see back at the office.
Right, but you could see it, and then you could record it another way, right? Like
No.
a body-worn camera, or with a phone, or just record something so you preserve it as evidence, right?
There was no evidence. I was not able to export the dates and times that they were asking. The playback option is there, but my reason for responding was to export the video. And when I went to export and it will not be exported, at that point we took the DVR back to the office.
All right, so all those other options that I just explained to you, none of that was done, correct?
No.
And at some point the DVR was returned to the owner, correct?
Yes.
And if the owner, when he got the DVR back, found that everything had been erased, can you explain how something like that could happen?
If I run DVR Examiner, like I said, I don't plug the hard drives back in for that reason, because it usually resets the hard drive or wipes it out completely.
So you wouldn't have wiped it out completely?
No,
Right.
no.
Okay. So if we have a DVR that was in this home, and this DVR had about a month's worth of footage on it, then it's taken from the home, and then sometime later it's returned to the home, and now when it's at the home, it's working fine, but all that month-long footage is gone. How do you explain that? How does something like that happen?
I can only tell you that I unplug the DVR, plug it into DVR Examiner, and normally when we plug it back in, which is the reason why we don't do it, we don't plug the DVRs back in when we return them in case detectives need more data later. Normally when you plug it back in, it formats and resets the hard drive.
So is it fair to say that as you sit here, you are not able to tell us how it was that a month's worth of footage was lost while it was in police custody? You're not able to tell us how that happened?
No, sir.
Thank you.
She did her best, in my opinion, to try and give a thorough technical view of what would need to occur should there be manual manipulation with the device. Therefore, it was very important for the state to get a lot more context as to what happened with this particular footage, what was seen on it, and whether it was manipulated by the handlers of the particular device. So that's why we heard from Robert Sisneros. That's why he was recalled to give and complete his testimony that he was giving yesterday. He went on to testify that he did not manipulate or alter the device, and neither did the officers do any of these things. And also he went on to give the testimony of what was in the footage. This was heavily contested by the defense because they didn't want this to come in without having the footage to actually show.
Sisneros, I want to talk about that video.
Okay.
What did you see in the video?
Same objection.
Oh, yes.
We witnessed a person that he was interested in running from the property directly behind mine. He's running towards the fence, towards my fence, not running anymore, it's more like stumbling, and then he drops out of view.
Like I said earlier, it was imperative for the prosecution to put this idea of manipulation to bed, and that's why they called in Detective Danny Morales, who gave a lot more testimony about what happened that day when they had the DVR in their possession.
What was either of their reaction when you informed them what was going on?
So Cristo Barreto immediately, spontaneously stated the words, "If he is dead, Daisy must have shot him." The victim is observed on the cameras walking westbound down an alleyway. He appears to be slumped over, not slumped over, but kind of like dragging himself. He hides in some bushes. At that point, we see a vehicle that drives eastbound in the alleyway. After that, we see the victim come back out of that bushy area of the backyard and eventually collapse on the ground.
So with all of that cleared up in regards to the DVR, as well as a bit more clarity on what happened that night, the defense took opportunity to try and establish their view of the case and gain back some control.
That sound like, do it, I want to die! Is that what that sounded like to you? Is that what that sounded like to you?
To be honest, sir, the only thing I can hear from here is the word die. I can't hear anything else.
Okay.
Sorry.
Would you agree that that was Pedro Jimenez saying that? Screaming that, actually.
Speculation. Oh, you can answer.
It's unknown, but based on the information that we know, they were the only two there, so it can be assumed that that was him, yes.
But it was really inaudible, at least on my end. When I was listening to it on the feed, I could only hear die when I was able to play it back, so it leaves a lot to be desired. The next few days of this case is going to be very interesting because the state said that they only had 3 more witnesses to put on, which makes this a hella quick trial. I didn't expect it to be this quick, but it looks like the state are only going to present 10 witnesses in total if we are to go by them only presenting three more witnesses. And it now leaves for the defense to put on their case in chief, and maybe we're gonna get answers about this particular DV stuff. I don't know if Daisy is gonna come on the stand and testify. I have no idea what is going to happen in the next few days, but we shall be bringing you the daily recaps. So make sure that you subscribe and turn the notifications on so that you can be alerted whenever we have uploaded these recaps. So what do I think? Did the police actually alter the evidence? Did they manipulate with that footage? Me personally, I want to say no. I want to say that it wasn't altered because I do believe Surgeon Fernandez and her surgical, in my opinion, it was very technical, it was very surgical, and she was very clear. Like, it doesn't seem like there was foul play, and she gave a lot of information to suggest that this may have just been one of those things that happened. I have myself even lost files, and I didn't even realize that it happened until much later, and it just turned out to be I had too much hard drives, and it had to delete files to create files. So I don't know how technology works. I'm just giving a bit of context that these things can happen, but I don't know. I'm not trying to take up for one side or the other, just analyzing what I've seen today. But what do you think? Do you believe that the police were altering evidence, that they were that do you believe that Robert Sisneros was removing the file and deleted the file? Let me know in the comment section what you think, and let me know what you think is going on day 2. Anyways, if you've made it this far, you've got great taste. Make sure that you hit that like button if this video was of value for you. Consider supporting the channel and join the Tastemakers today. We have a great community, so make sure that you hit that join button on YouTube or Patreon, or by making a one-off donations, whatever you please. The links are in the description on how you support the work that we do. If you have a taste for the law, you're already one of us. make it official, and join the Tastemakers. I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and this has been The Ketchup. And like I said earlier, if you have not been able to catch our first recap of day 1, make sure that you go and check it out now. The link should be coming up. Anyways, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you on the next recap. Bye for now.